The federal government has at this point approved a 50% increase in feeding allowance for inmates in Nigeria with effect from August 2024. Okay, which means it's already started. Now, the ACC Abubakar Umar, the Public Relations Officer of Nigeria's Correctional Center, made this known on Thursday, noting that it is the first phase of a broader review of inmates' welfare to enhance living conditions for inmates. Following a presentation during the budget process, the federal government deemed it necessary to adjust the allowance due to the rising cost of food. Further adjustments are expected, although Umar explained, recall that a viral video of inmates' poor feeding condition emerged recently, showing the inmates at the Ofokang Custodial Center in Calabar, Cross River State, being fed with poorly cooked meals. The spokesman said he could not speak more on the development because an investigation ordered by the Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Ojo, is yet to be submitted. But it was gathered that hitherto inmates were fed with 750 naira per day. This is actually different from what I heard from another correctional center. I can't really place the amounts now, but it was less than this particular amount. But this is just from media investigation. That is actually 750 naira per day. 750,000 naira per day. That would be much. But 750 naira per day. How do you see this story?
And believe me, if the inmates consumes 750 naira per day, most persons enjoying freedom would want to be locked in the prison.
That is if that was the case.
Exactly. Most persons enjoying freedom in the country will want to do something that will take them to prison.
That's a very heavy statement.
Yeah, that's to tell you how hard. We are the grassroots. We interface with the people. You see sound human beings now behaving like people that are mentally derailed as a result of hardship. You see somebody begging you, please, 200 naira, let me use to feed my family. And you'll be asking yourself, what can 200 naira get by? A mother that has 2 children, see, begging. If he begs you, move to another person. The point I'm trying to make is that particular statement or the result of that media investigation is not what is practice.
The reality.
It's not the reality. If inmate will consume 750 naira for feeding per day, believe me, is something that Nigerians should commend. I don't see that, I don't see that.
So it doesn't tally with the viral video that we saw where inmates were feeding poorly.
Definitely, it has no correlation. It has no correlation at all.
But how do you see the increase?
You see, I don't understand. Is it that the government does not even listen to what the masses are saying? You're increasing as a result of hiking food price, right? You're now increasing the allowance for inmates to by 50%. Would that reduce that hike in food price? It will not reduce it. So that means as you're ready to increase, the government should also be ready to increase it by 100% in the next 1 month or 2 months. So indirectly, you see the government encouraging this hike in prices. Because if you have increased the allowance of inmate by 50%, and I'm a trader, and I also have some in a particular place where it's inching, where the thing is biting, the economy is biting me. After 1 month, I will also adjust my 1 cup of gari. If I used to sell for 200 naira, I will add 50 naira or 100 naira, and I will be selling for 300. And then after 1 month or 2, I also expect the government to increase the allowance of inmate to maybe increase it by 70%. That is not what we need. The government, I don't know if they don't understand or they don't have the relevant professionals, or they are doing what they are doing intentionally. Let me not bring God into the matter, but I've overheard some person say God is punishing Nigerians for what they did.
What did Nigerians do, please?
There are some persons.
I didn't do anything.
there are some persons that, sold, let me use the word, their conscience, their right, and then instead of you to doing the right thing, you decided to just stay aloof. You stood on the fence. Some persons actually stood on the fence when it was time to decide who emerges, right from the local government level, beginning from the councillors. You know, when we talk about government, it's not just the federal government. This thing revolves. Now, some persons have concluded that Nigerians, we are suffering because of what we have done. Some churches will tell you we don't conduct election. Our people does not participate when it comes to voting and then deciding who becomes their leader. And you now discover that those with what I call ill mindset and negative perception about the people, about the country, they see opportunity and then they enter into public offices, and they are now determining and deciding what happens to both the rational and the irrational ones. So that's why that particular person made that statement. Now that fuel is high, is it only a particular political party? It's affecting everybody. So our government should be sensitive. And if they are actually sensitive to the plight of the people and what the nation needs, that increase in allowance, yes, it's good. It will help to address that. But how sustainable? It will not address the issue of something prompted that hike in price, in the price of foodstuff. That is where the government energy should be channeled into. That is where all well-meaning, nationalists, all those that are interested in the stability, growth, and advancement of Nigeria, that is where their energy should be channeled into. How do we address this issue of constant increase in price? Last week, we were talking about fuel issue, and I think I made mention of 850 and thereabout. I stepped out of this studio, went out, and I heard that they bought fuel for 1,100 naira. I was shocked, to my greatest surprise, within an interval of 24 hours. And from that last week till date, of course, angrily, I left the filling station about 3 days ago. Right before me, they were adjusting their meter. And that was where I parked. I was waiting for the attendant to attend to me. And then that particular meter they were selling for 1,100. As soon as they finished the meter behind me, they said, bros, I beg, go back. I said, how? Give me from here. And I said, no, use the meter, the other one. I quickly reversed, went back. I saw 1,003. I said, well, for what? I said, how much? They said 1,300. Believe me, I hadn't enough fuel, but I drove out by faith. Angrily, I left the fuel station. Now, there is a problem that Nigeria is facing. There is a focal point. There is something that is contributing to everything that is happening in Nigeria when it comes to hunger, food scarcity, hike in price. There is something that is responsible. Has our government been able to pinpoint that particular problem and then start profiling or start calling for a suggestion on how to solve that particular issue?
If you think a 50% increase in the inmates feeding will lead to inflation, from your explanation where you say after a month people want to increase the prices. Yeah,
what I'm trying to say that it will encourage, that approach encourages the hike in price of foodstuff that we're already experiencing.
Would you say the same thing for the minimum wage increase?
For the minimum wage increase, of course, you and I know that even the minimum wage increase doesn't have what it takes to address the current reality when it comes to cost of things in Nigeria. It's just that Nigeria is, the masses, the Nigerian workers are peace-loving people, and Nigeria is a very wonderful country where those in authority have their say. They can, let me use the word manipulate. They can manipulate the masses the way they want. Otherwise, going by the current reality in Nigeria, the minimum wage is nothing. It's nothing but we just commended the government because there has been a shift from where we used to be to a new place.
With all of the issues going on in Nigeria, we cannot stop talking about the role that agriculture has to play.